What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode in my Football Manager save. This is episode number 112, and today we're returning with the one last look at the save, the official series finale, as we wrap things up today. So with loads to get through, as you take one final look at things in full detail, let's just get straight to it. And where else to begin but with yours truly? Yes, a overview of my managerial achievements and career statistics to start with. As you'll see, my characteristics here: media handling 1%, as it always is, but nicely filled for the most part, apart from the domestic player bias, which I think probably was higher when I was at Bournemouth, but here at Dortmund we didn't really concern ourselves too much with that. We did have quite a few that we signed, Landshooter, Mukoko returning, Krozer as well, but not too high, of course. Obviously speaking two languages fluently after joining Borussia Dortmund, and you see my attributes here as well. The one thing I was really surprised about as we rose from no coaching qualification to Continental Pro. Now, obviously I mentioned before, I think these just get allocated automatically, I believe, but the one thing that really surprised me was that mentally, I wasn't too surprised about most of this, but the adaptability being one, which really surprised me, because I was under the understanding that if you stay within a country, it will always stay at one, but when you move, it eventually starts to increase. But this just remained at one, even though I've now spent 3 years at Dortmund and won them both a Super Cup and also a Bundesliga as well. Maybe once you max out with a Continental Pro, it just can't get any better, but that did kind of surprise me, to be fair. My relationships here, this is always surprising. I never fully understand where this comes from. My best opinion was Mitrovic and Valverde, and my worst opinion here, Damir Kanadi. I don't know how on earth I got this guy in my worst opinions list. Literally no idea. And Thankyou. I don't know how on earth these guys became in my worst opinions list, but so be it. And let's take a look at my career statistics here, as you would have seen. Two jobs at club level, again Bournemouth and also Borussia Dortmund as well. I earned £29.5 million in my years. I wish. 3 awards in total. Of course, the manager years with Borussia Dortmund. Only spent 2 days on holiday. That's when you know you're a real FM player, right? And as well here, you'll see the fact I bought 99 players. I sold 107. And the highest fee I spent was for Stefano Striddi at £81 million. That was in the January window of my first year at Dortmund. And the highest fee I received, I still can't believe I got this much money for him, £70 million for Dominic Solanke. I'll go through a few fan favourites of the save to end the episode off, but I still can't believe, even though he was amazing for us, we cashed in for £70 million when he was out of contract, if you remember, at the end of that season. No doubt about it, whilst he was a class player for me, I definitely made the right call there, because his replacement turned out to be a superstar in Goran Kowal. So I played 134 games. This is just with Dortmund. I won 98 of them and lost 18 as well. And my overall stats, combining with Bournemouth, played 572, won 327 and lost 135 as well. That means my win percentage was 57% in total. And as you'll see, overall, I won 6 cups and 1 league as well. Of course, the cups we won were 2 conference leagues, 3 Carabao Cups. Hang on, that should be 7, shouldn't it? Unless they don't count, they probably don't count the Super Cup, to be fair. So yeah, it would have been 2 Conference Leagues, 3 Carabao Cups, and also, of course, that 1 Bundesliga as well. We also won the Super Cup, but hang on, that's counted there. So how, shouldn't it be 7? I won 3 Carabao Cups, not 2. What? I'm missing a cup. They've taken a cup away from me. What were they taking away? What have they taken off me? They've taken a trophy off me. It's not true. I've won 7, as you can see here. If you count the Super Cup, which obviously I don't, but clearly the game does. But anyway, if we're talking just major honours, it is 6. Of course, the winning run with Bournemouth, Carabao Cup and Conference League, won those. Again, 3 Carabao Cups in, was it 4 years or 5? I think it's 5 years actually. And of course, it's joining Dortmund as well. That Super Cup in Season 2 in the Bundesliga last season as well. Manager of the Year these past 2 seasons too. And also, of course, we won it once. Manager of the Month, I should say, during my time with Bournemouth as well. It just goes to show you how difficult the Premier League is with so many class managers in it. Moving on, we'll take one final look at the team we leave behind with Borussia Dortmund. Of course, you guys will get the save file today, so you'll be able to carry on our work here at the Signal at Duna Park. We're going to start off with the Homegrown, as always. As you see, we've got a few players that train at the club here. We brought back Watjen Mane and Mukoko. Rainer's still there, of course. I've got two youngsters here as well. But Landshooter, he'll become Homegrown in a year's time. Steiger and Norton, they're going to get it during the following season, I believe. No, Steiger gets it in a month's time. Norton will get it during the following season. Alfonso gets it at the end of next year, just like Landshooter, and Co Silva will come Homegrown as well. So for those of you that worry about this as much as I do, which is probably very few of you, in terms of the Homegrown standings here, is looking a lot better than when we inherited this. Oops, we inherited this team. But even so it's a class team, absolutely class team. Obviously, you will be losing if you do carry on the save. You will be losing Patrick Wimmer, who's going to join Al Ain in Qatar in the summer for £15.5 million. But otherwise, it's still a really class team. It's very, very young. We've got some good wonder kids here. Alfonso, the young Mexican goalkeeper, obviously none better than a Landshooter as well. Star quality in the likes of Charlie Creswell, the captain, Fernando, Ivan Fresneda, Kroos. So it's a brilliant, brilliant team. There's no doubt about it. I feel as though if you guys were to carry on with this Dortmund team, I'm pretty sure you can win the Bundesliga. I'd say most seasons, if you will. Even though Bayern, I don't think they'll have as big of a drop-off as they did last year from next season onwards, but I still believe you should be able to win the Bundesliga the majority of the years. I, of course, just found it incredibly difficult. But as for the Champions League, would this team be good enough for it? I mean, we're not to by Real Madrid this year. Luck at a draw, really, I would say. But I don't see why not. It's a really class team. Maybe add in one more star, and it would probably be good enough, I would say, to be one of the favourites to win it. But even so, it's a class team. Absolutely class team. And I love how we've changed it since being here as well. Dortmund had a bit of a mentality problem when we arrived, especially after finishing 8th in the year we arrived. But we've totally changed it. The new team leaders, of course, Rainer's up there being a long-standing player. Romero too. And Dragon, who's now the vice captain. Of course, Creswell is our captain. I believe that during the next season, Creswell should become one of the three. Certainly, if one of these two were to leave. But it's a much stronger side mentally as well. So yeah, we really changed his team from the ground up since coming in 3 years, and did a great job with it. If you look behind the scenes, you take a look at the backroom staff here. This is one of the elements of the game where I feel you can't really neglect. I don't like to give too many tips on this game because I do find it very hard on the play, but I do feel as though you have to get a good coaching team. Like, for me, it's fundamental, really. Like, if you're not, the best in the league, mainly across the board, maybe not completely, but mainly across the board, I feel as though your players just aren't going to develop as much. There's always this great debate in the community about whether it's more important to have game time or great facilities and coaching. For me, I always say, why not both? Seriously, why not both? But if you can't loan your players out, or if you're like me and you don't want to loan your players out for the homegrown rulings, then make sure you've got a great coaching staff as well. And the tip I always give is don't look for balanced coaches that can do sort of like jack of all trades but master in none, but look for coaches that have like a specialty in something. So get a class attacking coach, the best in the game, Benny McCarthy. We had him during the years we were the Cherries and now here as well. Like, Benny McCarthy's probably the best attacking coach in the game with great motivation, and then obviously maxed out in attacking as well, and a good worker with youngsters stat too, really important if you got young players as well. Get a solid defensive coach as well, which again, we've got a coach here that's got 19 as well. Get great fitness coaches in through the door as well. Get great technique coaches too. Dennis Burkhamp, one of the absolute best in the game as well. So don't look for jack of all trades that are like 12s all across the board, but instead get them great in one particular area. Even if you look at someone like Benny McCarthy, for example, and you'll see here he's got terrible stats outside of both technical and I suppose mental as well, and also attacking as well. He's not going to be doing defensive drills. Like, this is not a coach that will be doing defensive drills in the training sessions. He'll just be dealing with the attacking unit, with the attacking group. So this could be 6 or it could be 1. It doesn't matter if he's just going to be focusing on the attacking. So to me, definitely make sure the mentals are good. Again, the top 3 that I highlighted there: determination, level of discipline, and also motivating as well. I feel like motivating is probably the most important of the 3. That's just my opinion. But yeah, just get a special coach in one area and not look for the jack of all trades. To me, it's one part of the game which I feel is really important. Injuries, when you look at a medical team as well, I feel as though injuries are one of those things where you can't really predict them. Sometimes you can have like the best head physio, the best doctors, the best sports scientists, so on and so forth, but you're still going to have a year or two where your injury played. But I still feel as though you might as well try and focus on prevention rather than cure. And so if you do have the best physiotherapists, I feel as though you're more likely to see your players, stay healthy. And sports science as well has become a really important part of the game as well. Sports science in all sport, especially in football as well. I mean, the elite clubs in world football, they've got a great sports science team. Manchester City, one of the absolute best in world football. So make sure you've got good sports scientists as well as physios as well. You can't really neglect that. Listen, injuries are potluck. Again, you might have a year, like we had a year this year where we barely really had anyone go down with long-term injuries or even medium-term injuries, but sometimes you can have an amazing physio and sports scientist team and yet you're still going to have years where it just seems like your players are dropping like flies. We did that last year, if you remember, but I feel as though if you do focus on prevention, you're more likely to be better off. It is luck, but you still have a better chance, if you will. Moving forward, looking more at the hierarchy, but also the club overview as well. You'll see I did make it into the favoured personnel here alongside Company as well after just the 3 years. That's what winning the Bundesliga and stopping Bayern's dominance does to a guy. You finally got on that favoured personnel list. We've basically bankrupted this club for 1 Bundesliga, but it was worth it according to the fans. But the icons, Mukoko's now on it alongside Bellingham as well. For those curious, who by the way is at Man City right now in the save. I'll go through some of the best world players in the save anyway to end the episode off. But yeah, in terms of the facilities right now as well, you'll see we've got the state of the art for both training and youth facilities as well. The youth facilities took a downgrade. We've now upgraded them back to state of the art. For me, again, the training facilities are just so crucial in FM as well. I was mentioning a moment ago there about coaching stuff. You want to make sure your training facilities are the very best they can be. So even it'll cost you a pretty penny to upgrade from, say you start off with like good training facilities, going from good to great to excellent state of the art, it takes a while. You're spending upwards of around £25 million, but believe me, it's worth it. The better your training facilities, the better your coaching, the better your players are going to develop in a quicker range of time as well. So to me, don't neglect this part here. Make sure that youth facilities, it can play a part, especially in the under 18 level if you like to produce good academy players. But for me, it's not as important as training. Training, you want to make sure training is as good as it possibly can be. So yeah, great state-of-the-art facilities there with Dortmund since upgrading in the summer as well. And in terms of the club vision as well, if you were to carry on from me as well, this is what the board want us to do, or will want you to do moving forward. The board culture remains the same. That's to play attacking football and possession football and pressing football as well. I never really worry too much about these two here. But in terms of the 5-year plan, which is really important as well, moving forward, it's just being recognised as the best of the rest, then challenge for the title, and then eventually 4 years in even, that will be to win it. So from then on, you'll want to continue to win the Bundesliga. So that's what the Dortmund board kind of expect of you. From now on, even though this one was a Bundesliga win, they don't expect us to repeat it, but 4 years' time, they do. And then once you do win it, they'll expect you to become dominant and take over from Bayern Munich as well. So that's your mission. If you carry on from me, don't worry too much in the first 2 years if you can't retain it, but definitely from season 4 onwards, it's all about maintaining your status as the best team in German football. You're going to become the new Bayern Munich. Next up, taking a look at the youth prospects with Borussia Dortmund as well. I think we've got a few decent players here that could be all right as the years go by. Obviously, in terms of academy graduates, this one being the absolute best, Kai Norben Waggerman. This attacking midfielder looks pretty decent in our youth team right now. Just 17 years old, but this Dortmund team's got like an abundance of class offensive pieces, so it'll be hard to get into game time there. But the players that we brought in are definitely worth showing as well. I love how now when you go to the under-19s, the default thing you see is them based on potential. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But even so, we brought in Yannis Papas from Leverkusen, and he looks really, really solid as well. So definitely want to keep your eyes on that dual nationality with Greece as well. And then the others that we brought into, obviously this season we brought in Patrick Van Loo from Standard Liège. He still looks absolutely class. Want to see those physicals improve, no doubt about that. But already 17 tackling on a 17-year-old with 19 for determination and teamwork as well. Again, the physical's not the best, but already this guy's got an amazing reading of the game and great tackling at just 17 years old. So definitely want to look out for in the future. Obviously, we also signed, where's Subotic? Oh, there he is, right the way down there. Well, he's had a bit of a potential downgrade, but Subotic, the son of Neven, still looks pretty decent. 2 caps at senior level for Serbia, and again, still does it pretty solid, to be fair, in our under-19s. And also, as well, the one that we signed this year, who got most game time. This guy, who's in our first team right now, Koz Silva. No doubt about it, this guy could become maybe not as good as Urasevic that we are with Bournemouth, but still really, really solid. Great mentals for a ball-winning midfielder. And if he just improves technically, because already physically he's really, really solid at just 18 years old. Technically, if he gets that marking up and the tackling as well, this guy eventually in about 4 or 5 years will become an elite ball-winning midfielder, just like Urasevic. So the future is still very bright here as well. And the last thing I'll show you with the club in general is the financial situation, which... I mean, you can see when I arrived, can't you? You can see the trend when I arrived. It's so ironic because obviously I know, like, some of the comments I was getting from you guys during our first few years was the fact I was being too stingy, I was being too cheap. So maybe coming in to the second team, they were probably thinking, oh, we're going to rise this club's bank balance even more, which at one point was just over £400 million. Nope. You can see when we arrived, we just went down and down and down. But you know what? We're back up to £141 million after the prize money, and it was worth it. It was completely worth it to make sure we would win a Bundesliga title as well. You see the wage budget here as well. It's never been high. In fact, I think it was actually, yeah, the first season I came in, it was actually the highest at 2.5 mil. It's reduced slightly, but it's still very, very high. But the good thing about Dortmund, and I said this before, is that they're a club with massive marketability. They've got one of the biggest stadiums in European football, over £80,000. So the income you can generate and the turnover you can generate is much, much higher than when you're managing a much smaller club with much smaller reputation, marketability, and also the stadium size as well. So that's why even though the wage budget is, bill I should say, is incredibly high and the expenditure is incredibly high, it's okay because we're still generating an awful lot of turnover as well due to, again, the club's marketability, playing in Europe year in and year out, and of course having that massive monstrous stadium as well. So it's not too big of a deal. And, you know, in FM, it's true that the bank balance, so long as you've got enough to cover your wages, so long as you've got enough to cover any kind of necessary improvement to facilities as well, and you've got enough to make signings year after year, it doesn't really matter too much. Unless you're looking to build a new stadium or to buy your stadium off the council, for example, if you're currently renting it, you don't actually need a monstrous budget. You really, really don't. This is fine. Like, this is okay. Again, if you really want to make sure you can bring in a world-class player out year after year, you want to look for a healthy bank balance, but it doesn't need to be absolutely monstrous, if you will, unless you want to, again, build a new stadium or buy the stadium you currently rent. So with Dortmund's case, we don't need to do that. We own the stadium and it's massive anyway. So yeah, it's not, again, 420 mil or just shy of 150 mil. Yes, of course, one's far better than the other, but the budgets are ordinarily going to be around the same for the most part. So it's not too big of a deal. So moving away from the club individually, doesn't that look so good? Finally, 20 years. That is mental, man. And the funny thing is, it's not even beyond the realms of possibility of happening in real life. That's just how dominant Bayern Munich are. Do you know what I mean? Now they've got Kane leading their line as well. That's the striker they were looking for, the long-term successor for Lewandowski. People, can I just say this about Kane as well, very briefly? People talk about Harry Kane. Oh, there we go. Nagelsmann was sacked, as we thought he would be. People talk about Kane and they're like, this might be his last chance saloon. He's 29. Like, he's younger than me. He's 29 years old. It's crazy when you think about the fact that Benzema actually became even better, like, in his early to mid-30s. I mean, he's 29. Lewandowski, in his 30s. Benzema in his 30s. Players nowadays with, modern medicine and much better understanding of the game as well, from a medical standpoint and a physiotherapy kind of standpoint as well. Like, players can still be elite in their mid-30s, They're not smoking at half-time back like they were in the 1950s, So Kane at 29... still got plenty of time to bang him in. But everyone's talking about, he's had to make this choice between, being the Premier League's top goal scorer of all time or winning silverware abroad. He can still do both. Like, there's no reason why he still couldn't do both. Go to Bayern for 2-3 years, win a couple of Bundesligas, cups, whatever, maybe even a European trophy, you never know, and then come back to England in his early to mid-30s and still bang in what he'd need to meet Alan Shearer's record, or if not surpass it. He could still do that. So, anyway, away from that, I don't know why. I think it's just because nowadays young players burst onto the scene even younger than they ever used to. Like it's not uncommon nowadays for players to be in their late teens, early 20s and be regarded as some of the best players in world football. See Kylian Mbappe, see Jude Bellingham, and so on and so forth. But 29 is not old. 29 is not old. And yes, I know he's about to turn 30. Or has he just turned 30? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. He's still got plenty more years left in him. He's not going to retire at 32 years old. Anyway, so moving away from Dortmund as a whole, take a look here in the Bundesliga. We'll go through the top leagues in European football. You see the Premier League this season, as you'll see, the past 3 years has been Man City winning a three-peat. Before that, 3 of the past 4, Manchester United. Liverpool sandwiched in between that. Chelsea also won 1 as well. So the only 2 of the traditional Big Six that hadn't won in this save were both the North London sides in Arsenal and also Spurs as well. But even so, as you will see, how cool is this? Bournemouth once again for the second year in a row being a top 4 team. There's no doubt about it. I'll show you Bournemouth in detail in a moment, but Unai Emery has definitely taken on the reins from me and done even better than I did. Okay, I left him a good blueprint, don't get me wrong, but Unai Emery has definitely done better than I did, and I'm not even going to try and deny it. Moving on to La Liga and the Spanish League as well. You'll see for the most part during the save it was Real Madrid dominance. Barca had won 1, but they have now won 2 of the past 3, so it's now starting to even out a little bit between Barca and Real Madrid. Atletico haven't won 1 since the saves began though. Moving past that to the Serie A, I'll take a look at Italy. Italy's always a very interesting league because it can change so frequently. That's why the Serie A is such a great league to manage in FM. But as you'll see, it was Milano first, then Lazio, then Napoli, then Lazio, then twice Napoli, then Milan. But now after 1 year of Inter, it's been a three-peat for AC Milan. So now 4 of the last 5 have been AC Milano. They're now starting to establish themselves as top dogs in Italian football. Of course, it still is very even indeed. Of course, just show you the Bundesliga, and the last league I got loaded is Liga. And unsurprisingly here, guess who's been dominating this one? Yes, of course, it's Paris Saint-Germain. They've won it every single season in the save. This year only did 1 loss all season long, 8 clear of Marseille. Listen, I did well to end Bayern Munich's dominance in Germany. I don't think I could do it with Paris Saint-Germain's stronghold in French football. They are still absolutely dominating, and I doubt they'll drop off at all in the save whatsoever. So moving on, we'll do a few more European leagues. I don't have any loaded from here on out though, so we'll just be able to see the past winners. Starting with Portugal, as you'll see, it's been Porto and Benfica dominant since the save began, primarily Porto. It normally always is Porto, Benfica and Sporting, and some combination of those 3. Although this year, I don't have to Sporting, but they dropped off. Madeira ended up finishing in 3rd place. Maybe Ronaldo's bought Madeira after being born there, but even so, I don't know. But they were 3rd this year in Portugal. That's quite interesting. I want to see more of that in real life. Do you know what I mean? So for those who don't know, like Wilfred Zaha and Stormzy. For those who don't know who Stormzy is, he's a British rapper and grime artist. Great guy as well. They've both combined their income to buy AFC Croydon. I want to see more footballers do that, man. Buy clubs, at lower level and try and take them up. It's really cool. But anyway, moving on. Netherlands, as you'll see, it's practically always Ajax in the save, and it has been as well. 1 year PSV won it, but otherwise it's been Ajax dominant since the save began. The Austrian Premier League is very interesting indeed, but ordinarily it's always RB Salzburg, unsurprisingly due to the backing they have from Red Bull. But in the save, it's not been. This must be one of the first FM saves I've done where RB Salzburg haven't been continuing their dominance. It's been Sturm Graz, and in the past 2 years, Austria Vienna and WSG Tirol. In fact, 2 years ago, they weren't even in the top 3. That's crazy. Probably should have shown you the reputation list as well. and what leagues are the most reputable and what aren't. But moving past that, we'll go to the Belgian Pro League. As you'll see this year, it was Club Brugge winning it. It's normally either Club Brugge or Anderlecht for me in the saves I do. So this year, Club Brugge, it's been quite mixed though. You've got Charleroi in there as well. Antwerp won it too the first 3 years as well. But Club Brugge this year's winners. The Czech First Division, Sparta Prague, season 4 last, and Victoria Poulsen won, I think, 5 years in a row. There 6 years in a row even. Slovan Liberec and Slavia Prague, the other winners. Scottish Premier League is always the same too, although this is quite interesting, but for once we didn't see the runner-up being either Rangers or Celtic. Since Rangers rose through the leagues to get back into the top tier, it's practically always either Celtic winners and Rangers runner-up or vice versa, but 3 years ago it was actually Aberdeen who were runners-up, with Rangers dropping the third there, but yeah, Celtic won 4 in a row, Rangers back on top though, but of course the runners-up being Celtic. It's always one of those two. I've never ever seen someone other than Celtic or Rangers win the SPL in any of my FM saves. Swiss Super League, quite an interesting one here, starting off with the Young Boys, then Basel, then Lugano, then Sion, then St. Gallen. So yeah, very interesting, nice mix here with Servette also winning it a couple of years ago. So nice mix here, quite competitive here in Switzerland. And this is very interesting. Now the save is starting to get quite interesting 11 years in. So in Ukraine, I mentioned a moment ago there with Scotland, it's always either Celtic or Rangers. In Ukraine, it's always one of the top two, Shakhtar or Dynamo Kiev. The past 4 years have been Shakhtar, but last year, it wasn't Shakhtar, it wasn't Dynamo Kiev, it was Vorskla. Wow. Now the save is starting to get interesting and starting to get a little bit freaky. Vorskla ending decades of Shakhtar and Dynamo Kiev dominance, going all the way back to 1992. How interesting is that? Greek Super League, decent little mix here, mainly Olympiacos, so they've won it more than anyone else since the saves began, but also AEK have won a couple, as of Panathinaikos, and one each for Aris and also PAOK as well. Turkey, my favourite country on this planet. Love Turkey. Here's the Turkey Super League for you. Very nice mix here as well. You see it started off with Besiktas, then Galatasaray, then Fenerbahce. 3 years of Galatasaray, one more Trabzonspor, and then Galatasaray, Konyaspor, and Galatasaray again, season before last. Let's do a few more whilst we're here. Starting with Norway, as you'll see, it's been Molde, Bodo, and Rosenborg since the save began. Bulgaria, normally won by Ludogorets, but in the save, whilst they have won it more than anyone else, they're having a couple of other winners, including Botev Plovdiv and also Levski as well. Oh, how did I forget about the Championship and the League 1 and League 2 as well? So the Championship, Everton won that after their relegation the previous year. Leeds haven't bounced back this time though, which is quite interesting. And as I'll show you League 1 as well, as you'll see Rotherham were champions this year, and also League 2 as well. I don't have the National Leagues loaded or anything below that, but it is interesting when you see a club that's sort of risen through the National League to be in the Football Leagues. Now one is Sutton Coldfield, but I've lost them. I don't know where they are, but Woking are also in there and narrowly missed out on promotion to League 1 this year, which is very interesting indeed. Sorry, not Sutton Coldfield, Solihull Moors, that was the club I was thinking of there, got those two mixed up, but Wrexham, by the way, for those curious, relegated in the Challenger. So good rise, to be fair, from Ryan and Rob's team, but yeah, bottom 3 in the Challenger this year and down to League 1. Let's do a few more. Sweden, this year was Hammarby. 3 years prior to that, it was AIK. Malmo have also won a couple in the save as well. Danish Superliga, Copenhagen have won it more times than anyone else, but a couple of other winners too, including Nordsjælland, OB, and also Brøndby IF. Let's do one or two more. Hungary, Ferencváros got off to a good start, but since then it's been nice back and forth here between them and Fehérvár and Újpest 1-1 as well. I'll do a couple more as well. Can't click on the Cypriot League, which is a shame, but even so, moving down as well. We'll do the Croatian Super League and also the Hungarian one as well. Croatia, nice split here. Dynamo Zagreb's dominance is over. They continued to win for quite a few years and then ended it with Oislek, Hajduk Split, Sibenek, HNK Gorica, Osijek, Rijeka, Istra, and Osijek again. It's a really nice mix here in Croatia. And I'll end on the Slovenian League, as you'll see the past group of winners there. Once again, another nice mix there as well. And we'll do the, can I click on the Bosnian? No, I can't. Can I click on the Romanian one? I can. We'll end on the Romanian one then. Obviously, CFR Cluj have won it more times than anyone else, but Steaua Bucharest have won a couple, as have Voluntari as well. And, oh no, I just saw that I want to do a Serbian one real quick, because the Serbian one, even though we've been poaching most of their players away, Red Star Belgrade have still won it more than anyone else. It's normally either Red Star Belgrade or Partizan. As you'll see, those have been the two there. Serbia, by the way, that is the country to scout this year for Great Wonder Kits. The amount I picked up in the save is crazy. And I really should do the MLS as well, shouldn't I? The MLS too. I'll do the MLS, Major League Soccer. The MLS Cup, last year won by Columbus Crew. Before that, Seattle Sounders. A three-peat for Atalanta United. LAFC, 2 of the past 3 years. Sandwich jointing at Toronto. And the years when the save began, 2 of 3 were LA Galaxy. And 1 was also Atalanta United as well. I can't not do the Argentine Premier League as well, if that's possible. River Plate have had a three-peat and won 4 of the past 5. Racing Club did win 1 as well. Boca Juniors back in 2027. I always have fond memories of going to Argentina earlier this year and going to watch a Boca game. That was one of the best experiences of my life, no doubt about that. Did go to River Plate Stadium, by the way, but never actually got to go inside it, walked outside it though. But even so, yeah, it's been River, Boca, and also 2 for Racing Club since the save began. And we'll also do the Campeonato, I can't pronounce it, but the Brazilian League when I get to it. There we are, the Brazilian National First Division. Internacional won it last year, before that São Paulo, the year before that Flamengo, then 4 in a row for Palmeiras. Atlético Paranaense won 1, then Palmeiras as well, so that was 5 of 6 there. What a run for Palmeiras, and Internacional and Flamengo were the other 2 winners as well. God, I so badly want to visit Brazil one day. People ask me a lot, like, what's the one country you've always wanted to visit? Brazil. That is the country I've always wanted to visit. One day, when I get my money up, one day I'd love to go there. And before we move on to the best players in world football and how they're currently getting on, I do want to show you our old team Bournemouth. First time in any save I've ever done or I've moved clubs. It really made this save a unique one, but of course we'll always have a soft spot for the Cherries. I did remain on the favourite personnel after the 8 years I spent there and the 5 major honours I picked up for them as well. As is Georgie and Garang, who by the way are still there, and Sujic as well, who's also still there as well. But no doubt about it, since leaving Bournemouth, Unai Emery has just done an absolutely amazing job. He won them the Europa League, I think the season after I left, so that was amazing. That was the only major honour they've won since I've left, but even so, the Europa League probably the biggest honour out of all of those there, and that was Unai Emery who won it for them. Again, I think it was the season where I left. But the team as a whole, you see the facilities there, they have allowed their training facilities and youth facilities to slide since I left. They haven't upgraded the stadium. It remains at around 23.8k seat stadium, but haven't upgraded the facilities. They've actually downgraded a little bit since I've left. But the squad that Unai Emery's got now, it's really good. They've gutted out quite a few of the players that I bought in, but they've still got quite a few of the stars that I left them with as well. Goran Kawad is still there. Elise is still there. Zonarek, by the way, that was the last bit of business I did with Bournemouth before I left, was sign them Zonarek, and he's done quite well in my absence. Sujic, again, like I said, he's still there. Radalovic is still there. He doesn't play as a midfielder anymore. Unai Emery's turned him into a striker, and he's doing quite well with 8 goals in 36 this season as well. So turned into a goal scorer in my absence. No one would have thought that would be the case, but there we go. Curtis Jones is there now. The Chump and Urasevic are both still there, which is really cool. I was thinking about signing the Chump actually this season, just couldn't afford him. But yeah, Urasevic is probably the best born midfielder in the save now as well. So yeah, he's still there at Bournemouth and remaining there in my absence. He's just elite, man. Honestly, I bought him for £6 million. I knew he was going to become one of the best players in world football. No doubt about it. This guy is just phenomenal. One of the best ball midfielders I've seen in FM for a new gen, if you will. Gareth Smallcombe is not going to be there for much longer. He's joining Liverpool after a loan spell on a permanent deal. So that's very interesting indeed. We signed Smallcombe for a ridiculous 23.5 mil. Did did all right for us in the 3 years we were there together, but with Bournemouth, Unai Emery's had enough and has decided to sell him after a loan spell to Liverpool. No income tax, no VAT, signed for Bournemouth on a free. Still there, Max Aarons is still there, and one of the best right backs in the Premier League. Will he turn out that way in real life? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yes, Max Aarons is still there since coming on the free, as is Caleb Bacoli, who we signed from Newcastle as well. Really class centre half. You see that Mascara's gone. He went to Real Madrid on a free transfer, interesting enough. Garza is still there. Garza the Great, the first sort of young wonder kid I picked up in the save. He's still there. That gets limited game time now. He's mainly just there as a squad player. And again, like I mentioned there, Georgie is also still there. Still between the sticks after playing over 300 games for the Cherries and being now a favoured personnel, entering his 9th year at Bournemouth. So yeah, great signing he was from Valencia, no doubt about that. So you look at the transfers here as well and what they've done since I left, which was, where are we here? This season here. Again, the season beforehand, wasn't it? No, it was that season. So yeah, the last thing I did is you see there was signed Zonarek, and then I left directly afterwards. And you'll see the business they did. I sold Traore to Monaco for 50 mil, and then Zonarek I replaced him with, and then literally like a couple of days later I joined Dortmund. So after that, this is all the business that Unai Emery did. He had an absolute clear out in season 1. Of course, we signed the Dragon and Araujo, but he sold Alex Scott to Barcelona on the cheap. He sold Jenkins to West Ham. He sold West to Leeds. He let McTominay go to Lazio on loan as well. And of course, Cazorla left at the end of that season as well to Manchester United. Soria left at the end of that season as well. So a real clear out from Unai Emery. And the players he brought in, Vindal, Sergio Camelo, Curtis Jones as well. And this guy who's turned into their vice captain, I believe, a young Turkish fullback there. Then the following season, where are we here? The following season, as you'll see, he once again didn't get much money, but did sell a few players, including McTominay going on a permanent deal for 12 and a quarter. Pugliese went to Bayer Leverkusen, as we remember as well. And then in terms of signings as well, brought in a few players here, including Evan Nilsson from Bayern Munich for £27 million. And then this past season as well, he went on a bit of spending sprees. Didn't spend too much the year before last, but this year went on a real spending spree to bring in some class young new gens, including Igor Jorge, young centre-half from Barcelona, including Declan Cantwell from Brighton, who I remember scouting back when I started when I was still at Bournemouth myself. Javi from Sevilla, class young striker as well. So yeah, he went on a bit of a spending spree this year to make their team even better. And it did sell a few players well, including Mascara going to Real Madrid on a free transfer. So what a coup that is for Real Madrid there as well. And I can't find him. And Smallcombe left. I think that was the end of last season. Smallcombe left as well. And so I think the final thing we'll do together is take a look at the best players in world football and also the highest earners as well. The highest earner right now is, of course, Kylian Mbappe. Now, he's still at Paris Saint-Germain, but he's on £550,000 a week, still dominating French football with PSG. He's also won them a Champions League as well. I've said this before, but to me, if I was Mbappe, I would stay at PSG. He is a Parisian, obviously moving on from Monaco. I would stay at PSG. I know going to Real Madrid and winning, La Ligas and Copa del Rey's and possibly a Champions League there as well would be incredible. To me, think about how much it would mean if he was able to win PSG their first ever Champions League. He's always going to win Ligue 1 every single year, and most likely, more often than not, the Coupe de France as well. He's going to be getting paid whatever he wants from the powers that be there. I'd stay at PSG. What have you got to lose? Mate, you've already won the World Cup. Seriously, I'd stay at PSG. Imagine what would happen if you won the Champions League. Imagine what that would do for your legacy, man. Donnarumma as well. He's the second highest earner in world football, also at PSG. Then Ronald Araujo, who is still at Barcelona as well. Elite centre-half, even still at 34 years old. Oh, this Portuguese midfielder is class, by the way. Raul Rego. He's on just under 500 grand a week on Manchester City and absolutely tearing things up there in the Premier League. Tchouaméni next on the list, 475 grand. He's still at Real Madrid, as is his right-hand man, Eduardo Camavinga, who literally plays any single position. Why he's only got 2 there, I don't know. That's very unrealistic. He should have the goalkeeper one as well. He can play anywhere, this guy, or at least Ancelotti thinks so. Camavinga's still there, though, at Real Madrid, and absolutely dominating, 30 years old right now. Then Haaland still at Manchester City, who I kind of ran away from with Bournemouth because I couldn't compete against him and stop him. He's still there at Manchester City right now and absolutely dominating, and a reason why Man City just won the three-peat there in the Premier League. Endrick is still at Real Madrid. He was so close to joining Bayern in the summer. I think if he did, we wouldn't have won the Bundesliga this year. I'm going to say this right now. The reason we won the Bundesliga, yes, we had an amazing season, only losing twice, but if he would have joined Bayern in the summer like I thought he was going to, I think Bayern would have won it again. No doubt about it. Because this guy is probably the second best striker in world football behind Kylian Mbappe and just absolutely balling out there with 30 in 36 games at the Bernabeu and just 26 years old. Pedri is still at Barcelona right now at 30 years old and again one of the highest earners on 450 grand a week. Then you got Jesus Vázquez, who's at Atletico Madrid right now after moving on from Valencia as well. Was that a loan spell at Arsenal? That's always interesting to see. But Vázquez at Atletico Madrid on 450 grand a week. Drago, one of the best young players in this year's FM. Right now on loan at Barcelona, doing really, really well. And then moving forward, you've got a few like new gens down here, I think, as well, which is really cool. So as you look at the best players in world football today in terms of market valuation, that would be Paul Vanna right now. Still at Bayern Munich, and just absolutely balling out. His stats are just fantastic, unbelievable player in this year's FM and a key part of Bayern Munich's side. I was close to signing this guy a couple of years ago, but Lucas Chevalier at Real Madrid, market valuations inflated to £268 million because that is the release clause, but world-class goalkeeper moving on from Hertha Berlin. I was so close to signing him. In the end, he went to Spurs. And I'm not going to say I regret it because Dennis this year equalled the clean sheet record in the Bundesliga in just 1 year. So I'm not going to say I regret it, but for 30.5 mil, I could have had him. I probably should have done it. And at least I could have sold him on for a big profit a couple of years later to Real Madrid. Moving on though, Quezada. Oh man, the real deal. What could have been had we stayed at Bournemouth. Of course, the year we left, he then joined Manchester United the following season for £115 million. Struggled though in the first year. It was a bit better this year, but I must say, if I was to continue playing this save in the summer, I would try and unsettle him and bring him to Borussia Dortmund because Zada right now at Manchester United and just absolutely elite player. What a player. This young English forward who's still at Bayer Leverkusen after moving on from AC Milano. Really, really solid young new gen as well. Ugarte is at Man City in the save, interesting enough, moving on from Sporting. Spent the last 10 years there as a DM for Manchester City. Absolutely amazing mental stats. It was 17 stamina and 19 fitness as well. What a ball in midfielder this guy is, man. Absolutely world class and no doubt about it, integral to Manchester City's success over the years. Gets a little bit more interesting here because of the inflation in market transfer valuation. But we follow on with Nelson Viper, who's at Marseille. Then you've got this young Argentine centre-half who's at AC Milano, who to be fair does look pretty solid. Then you've got this English attacking midfielder at Manchester United. Absolutely class, man. 26 years old. 24 caps for England, 7 goals. Well, he's a class attacking midfielder, to be fair, and probably deserving of that valuation, being homegrown as well. Then the chump, Abriot at Bayern, who I was scouting beforehand, really class right-sided player. Then you got this striker who's another target of mine in the summer, Everton from Roma, absolutely class young Brazilian. Destiny Udogie, who's still at Spurs, the left-sided player. Physicals are absolutely elite, man. What a baller this guy is, man. No doubt about that. And Scalvini, who's moved on to Chelsea in this save as well. Great mentals and also physically really elite as well. Matthias Tell, who's still at Bayern Munich right now. Normally their starting striker, if not Enrique Araujo. Still really good at 28 years old in the prime of his career right now. Then you've got Gabriel Solanina, the young American, who's still at Chelsea and has become their number one at Stamford Bridge. Then Hodgson, who is at Manchester United in the save as well, which is very interesting indeed. Great physicals and 6'4" as well. Then Endrick, who I showed you earlier. Levi Colwill, who is still at Chelsea. Blues fans will be pleased with that one. 30 years old. Amazing physicals. Mentally really solid and technically great as well. What a future this guy has in real life, by the way. I'm so excited to watch his career develop and hopefully he does get the game time at Chelsea. And then moving on, this young Portuguese new gen defender at Spurs, Rafael Marofana. Romeo Lavia, who I've been scouting since I joined Dortmund, but Napoli just will not let him go. 29 years old now, and this is what he can offer Chelsea moving forward, man. I'm a big fan of his 1 year with Southampton at St Mary's, but he was so good. So good for Southampton. He's a great young player. And yeah, then we've got a few new gens down here, including Garnacho, to be fair, as well, at Spurs right now. 28 years old, moving on from the Red Devils as a good winger. And there, I was waiting for him. There is Vinicius Jr. at PSG right now in the same, earning 400 grand a week after moving on first to Manchester City and then to Paris Saint-Germain. Big loss for Manchester City. Didn't really get the return on investment there, no doubt about it. But moving on to PSG, 78 million. PSG certainly have. I'll do a couple more whilst I'm here as well. Angelo, really good forward in this year's FM. Young Brazilian who's turned into a great class player for Arsenal there in North London. Phil Foden is still at Manchester City for those curious as well. Maintained his career there now at 33 years old and still class. Benjamin Sesko has moved on to AC Milano. Brilliant physicals once again as well. Rodrigo, he's also joining Vinicius at PSG as well and doing really well there too. And you got Jeremy Pino, who's at Real Madrid in the save as well. We'll leave it on that. And I think it's only fair we end on this, the World Player of the Year. If you want a real indication as to who's being considered the best player in world football since the Savers began, well, it won't surprise you to know it's been an individual tussle between Haaland and Mbappe, which is what most people expect will happen within the next few years in real life as well. So first it was Haaland winning 2 on the trot, then Mbappe won 2 on the trot, and then since then, Haaland, Mbappe, Haaland, and a three-peat for Mbappe, and last year Erling Haaland as well. The third place to be Musiala, Osimhen at Barca, Musiala again, Benjamin Sesko at Real Madrid, Vinicius at PSG, Rodrigo at PSG. Musiala was runner-up there, that's interesting, in 2026, so Mbappe must have fallen off a little bit, you'd think. And then before that, Camavinga, Lewandowski and Kimmich were there. No Haaland in 2024, and in 2023, Kimmich and Vinicius, and 2022 was Mo Salah and Vinicius as well. Is Salah still going? I think he's he's just retired. Did he retire this season? I think he might have done. Yeah, he did, with Atalanta. Spent the past 3 years there, but he was still going and still doing pretty decent, and now retiring at 4 years old. Very interesting indeed, that. Golden Ball has been split between Haaland and Mbappe once again, and there was a different winner back in 2029. You can call that voter fatigue, if you will, where Fofana managed to split the two of Haaland and Mbappe and won it out of nowhere. Though, to be fair, with 44 goals and 9 assists in 53 games, I guess you can see why. I think Inter won the championship that year as well, so fair play, probably deserves it, all things considered there. So that's the one time where they were split there in the World Golden Ball. Goalkeeper of the Year and the Golden Glove as well. It's been quite different since the save began, but Donnarumma's won it a couple of times, Mike's won it a couple of times, Onana's won it once as well, still at Inter in this save as well. Alisson, Ter Stegen, Courtois also won it too in terms of the Golden Glove, quite similar there as well. Though Diego Costa did win it with Bayern Munich back in 2029. Look at that, 29 clean sheets in 52 games, and only 32 conceded. That's an incredible record there for, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in the save. And that's it. And the World Team of the Year for this past year, if you will, that was, where are we here? That was Donnarumma in goal, a back four of being Parisi, Colwill, Fofana and Apai at Real Madrid. That's a young Dutch right-sided player. Scalvini and Joshua Kimmich, Vinicius on the left, Foden on the right, and Musiala supporting Haaland up top, and Mbappe having to settle for a place on the bench. And in terms of the all season since the save began, it will be Courtois in goal, a back four of Alfonso, Militao, Upamecano and Cancelo, Kimmich and De Jong, DMGO, Vinicius on the left, Pino on the right, and Musiala supporting Mbappe with Haaland on the bench this time around. And I'm not ready to end the save. I'm not ready. So right now, in terms of top nation reputation, France are considered to be the most dominant nation, and that makes a lot of sense as well, because if we do look at the World Cup, can we do? Oh, there we go. If we do look at the World Cup here, France, whilst they haven't won it since 2018, it was England back in 2030, before that Denmark, and of course Argentina in 2022. If we actually look at the Euros, France have just been dominating the Euros. They've won all of the past three in the save, including last year's version as well. So we do the Copa America, and where's the Copa America? Where is it? Oh, I've not done a Champions Champions League. Yeah, what am I doing? Champions League. No, that's the European Championship. Well done, Doxy boy. The Champions League, as you'll see, as we know, Man City won it this year, but before that Chelsea. Then Real Madrid had a three-peat. Bayern in 28, PSG in 27. That was Mbappe's sole one with PSG, but that cemented his legacy once and for all. 3 and 4 for Bayern Munich here. Split between Arsenal winning their first, and the first year in the save would have been Bayern Munich as well. Where's the Copa America? There's the Copa Libertadores. That was won by Flamengo back-to-back the past 2 years. They're going for a three-peat this year. Before that, Sao Paulo. So Brazilian teams winning it. 5 of the last 6 though, with Vélez or a sandwich in between them. Racing Club as well. Palmeiras have done well good in this save, man. When you consider their Copa Libertadores and their Brazilian championships, but Atlético Paranaense as well won it too. So yeah, it's been mostly Brazilian winners in the Copa Libertadores. And there's the Copa America, right? The Copa America, as you'll see, that was won by Brazil last year. Before that, Mexico, Brazil again, and those were the 3 winners in the save thus far. In terms of club reputation, despite being knocked off their perch in the Bundesliga, Bayern are still considered the most reputable club in world football. So yeah, makes my achievement even sweeter, I would say, with Real Madrid second, Man City have now risen to third, with PSG in fourth, AC Milan up to fifth now after a great spell in the Serie A. Chelsea are sixth, that's very interesting indeed. Oftentimes they drop off for me, but Barca, Atletico, Inter, then the Red Devils, then us as well. Bournemouth had risen during my time, and there they are right there. Bournemouth have risen, and they're now a 4.5 star team. If you remember, they were like 3.5 when we took over. So they have now risen to 4.5 stars. So they now can recruit for better players, but they're still quite a bit behind Nice, Lazio, Schalke, Hertha, Villarreal, Porto, and so on and so forth. But they're now considered even more reputable than the likes of Arsenal and Spurs and Ajax and so on. So that's pretty good going. I think me and Unai Emery deserve a lot of credit combined for what we've done with Bournemouth. And what am I doing now? Highest transfer in the save, that was Vinicius to Real Madrid. We've got a few real ones here, including Neymar and Coutinho. Cazorla went for 114 mil, by the way, from Bournemouth to Manchester United, which is very interesting indeed. So, yeah, Vinicius star. I don't think I'll ever get beaten in the save. That 199.4 million, moving on through just shy of 200 million to Manchester City. That's incredible. That. Have there been any new build stadiums or any stadium massive upgrades, or is it still the new camp still the biggest at 99,000? The Allianz right behind that at 93. River Plate's 83, then ours 81,000 as well. This is just club though, not international. And if we look at the managers in world football, this is quite an interesting one. If we look at the total career stats here, who's got the best win percentage? Oh, and this won't be right because it will be like new managers as well. Okay, so the most wins then, Carlo Ancelotti leading the way, still at Real Madrid, still dominating with 470 for PSG. Have Bordalas, who's been in charge really ever since the save began. Since they lost Poch in the save, it's now been Bordalas for the past 10 years, and unsurprisingly, he's got such a high win percentage due to managing in France. Then Xavi at Barcelona, Klopp, who's now moved on to Atletico Madrid in the save, Zidane's now at Man City, then Ten Hag, who's moved on to Spurs, Simeone at Inter Milan, Enrique at Bayer Leverkusen, and then me, and then I make the top 10 list as well with 327 in 572. Right, do you know what? I think we're going to leave it there. Super long, final, one last look at the save. But do you know what? I think we'll leave it there. And guys, I just want to say a massive thank you for watching this save. I mean, it has been, without a shadow of a doubt, my most challenging FM save for YouTube. No doubt about it. I really, really struggle with this one. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. The hallmark of a good game is when you can be shit at it, like I am, and still really enjoy it. And I've had so much fun doing this save. And I want to say thank you for all the support and for you guys tuning in, man. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for being there from our humble beginnings with Bournemouth, a newly promoted side, all the way to ending Bayern's dominance with Borussia Dortmund as well. It's been a great save. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you for being part of the ride as well. So from now on, it's your choice what you want to do. In the description of today's video, as always, I'm going to leave you guys the save file as I officially end the save today. So yeah, in the description, click on the link and you can download the save file, and you can carry on the legacy of this save. You can take over with me with Borussia Dortmund and try and keep the dominance up in, well, I should say, keep get a new dominance in German football and totally end Bayern stronghold on German football, try and win Dortmund their second ever Champions League. You can try and go back to Bournemouth if you will and finish the work we started there on the south coast of England. You can go to a totally new club. The choice is yours, but anyway, the save file is yours. It's in the description, and feel free to tweet me at JonaDocks and let me know how you're getting on. And if you do win a Champions League next season, I do want to see it. Screenshot it me, give it me, and show me how bad I was in this save, that you've been able to do it in 1 year, whereas in 11 I never even got close. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Much love to you. It's been such a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this save file, and definitely for FM24 I'm looking forward to that one for next year as well. That's it for me. I am planning to stream some FM soon, so make sure you follow me on Twitch at JonaDocks. Other than that, thank you so much for watching the save, guys, and the special in-depth final one look at the save. And whilst I won't see you for another episode, I will see you for another video and possibly a stream of FM as well very soon. The save file is yours. Much love, and take care, guys. I love you.